Roger, let's talk about where we've ended up. This fear of a creeping fascism, authoritarianism, which you have called out for decades, has now come to fruition.
Yeah, well, this morning I woke up and the first thing I read, I think it was in the FT, it's that some NATO general this morning or yesterday stood up and said, we must prepare for a world war in 2027 because Russia is going to try and steamroll its way with armored divisions across Europe, and it won't stop until it reaches the English Channel. Why they would stop at the English Channel, God only knows. But this is what this bloke's saying. And so he's drumming up support for taxing all the people of Europe, which they're now talking about trying to raise 4 or 5% of GDP to spend on weapons. And they're talking about importing many more nuclear weapons and so on and so forth. And saying his great concern is that at the same moment that the Russians invade Paris or march into Paris, the Chinese will be invading Taiwan. So it's absolute baby talk, warmongering. But we shouldn't be surprised because they've been doing it ever since I was alive, practically. You know, we had 1 or 2 years after the Second World War, which I don't remember too well because I wasn't old enough to really be taking notice. But we did. We got a National Health Service, and we sort of pretended that we were going to look after one another and that we weren't going to have any more wars. And look at us now. They're absolutely going gangbusters to make certain that war is permanent. Because that's how they make their living, and they're entirely happy about it. And if they have to starve babies in Gaza, so be it. They couldn't care less. They have no interest in human rights. This is what I always say when they say, well, what's the difference between, like, the bloke who owns the Four Seasons Hotel who won't let you stay in any of his hotels ever, anywhere in the world again, and you? The difference is that I believe in human rights. It's very, very simple. My platform is tiny. It's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the 10th of December, 1948. I believe in it. I support it. They don't. They never have. You know, I live in America. In America, since 1776, they've been absolutely clear that they have no interest in human rights, freedom of speech, democracy, any of the things that they pretend to support. They don't. And we know it, but what can we do about it? All we can do is go on encouraging ordinary people all over the world, and there are billions of us, to stand shoulder to shoulder and resist them and say, no, you may want to devote your entire life to making Raytheon and Grumman and Palantir richer and keeping Jeff Bezos in, $50 million weddings, but I don't. I want to live in a world where my children can go to school and we can talk to one another and, maybe go for a swim in the river a weekend. That's the world that I would, where we look after one another and we look after the weakest amongst us and so on and so forth. I am a socialist. Oh my God, no. Wow, what could be, oh, that's awful. You mean look after people? Instead of stealing from them and spending all the money on weapons so that we can kill people. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I know it's a bit long-winded, and I've spoken to Chris, and I have had conversations before, and we're very similar. Both of us could go on forever.
Well, as I come out of the church, how can I not be a socialist?
Well, exactly.
And I want to just, on the point that you made, this is the brilliance of Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. He showed that all of the gains that were made for working men and women, for people of color, for women, were done because of movements that fought against the dominant centers of power to open up space in our democracy. Which is why, of course, they hate Zinn, why they're canceling him. Trump denounced him by name, not that he's read him, of course. But this is the point that you're making, that that it's only by essentially forming groups of solidarity like Palestine resistance that we have any hope of pushing back against these forces. And then I also want to raise the great Francesca Albanese's report, her most recent report, which again buttresses the point that you just made, and that is that there are many corporations, Palantir and others, who of course are making huge profits not only off of war but off the genocide.
Yep, this is true. Everything that you say is true. So the trick is to wake up in the morning and not throw your hands up in despair and shoot yourself or whatever, but to go, I know it's crazy that the world is like this. Clearly, the lunatics have taken over the asylum. Obviously, the Keir Starmers and Donald Trumps and Macrons, or in fact, almost all the world leaders in the West are criminally insane. And we should be looking after them on the National Health Service. They should be locked up in a loony bin with people going, there, Keir, calm down. You know, here's your pills for today. Just sit in the sun and be quiet. But they're not. They're running the world, and they're running it extremely badly. So all we can do is what you do and what I do, and keep organising and keep encouraging all those brave, wonderful people who go out every Saturday into the streets of London. Oh, that 83-year-old lady who was, you know, arrested outside the High Court in London. And hats off to her, and how courageous and whatever. But so, and that's all we can do, or that's all we can do. Do you know what? The only thing I do, Chris, is I wake up in the morning and I go, I have to do one thing today, and I have to do it every single day. I have to do one thing, whether it's making a little video or doing this show with you or whatever. Any opportunity that I get, I will speak out.